For more information, please go to stpancrasclinicalresearch.com. That's stpancrasclinicalresearch.com.
The Seven Dwarfs were in a bit of a pickle. With the mines closing down, their finances were somewhat fickle. They looked to downsize their home fast, so Snow White could make her debts a thing of the past. So they spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue. We'll buy properties in any condition and can offer a guaranteed sale in as little as 2 days, hassle-free. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
With the new Halifax Family Boost mortgage, children can get help to buy their first home, and mum and dad earn interest on their savings. Everyone's a winner. The new Halifax Family Boost mortgage. Halifax makes it happen.
Your home and savings could be at risk if mortgage repayments are not maintained. Only available in England and Wales. One applicant must hold a Halifax Reward or Ultimate Reward current account. Conditions and exclusions apply.
This is the Eddie Laird Show on LBC. Text 84850.
In 2014, when Vince Cable was business secretary, he described London as a kind of giant suction machine, draining the life out of the rest of the country. I wonder if he's right, and if he is, why have the various schemes over the years apparently not helped, or not helped enough? Did Jeremy Corbyn have a point when he said of the floods, if this had happened in Surrey, not Yorkshire or the East Midlands, it seems far more likely that a national emergency would have been declared? 0345 6060 973. Sam in Kingston upon Thames says London is a massive net contributor to the nation. £9 in every £10 of tax of all kinds paid in London is spent elsewhere in the country. Yes, most of the top 1% of earners live in the capital, but they pay 27% of the entire income tax bill. The UK without London would be a much poorer nation in every sense. Afternoon, Eddie, it's not just emergency issues. I live in Cornwall. We only get a mention of the national weather forecast when it's a bank holiday, when all the DFLs down from London are coming down to their second homes. Mark in Plymouth talked about the southwest being ignored. And this text says, while it's impossible not to sympathise with the north and other areas outside London and the southeast, it's important to remember that London and the southeast and home counties are the only areas of England where the state accounts for less than 50% of GDP. London and the southeast are already very significantly subsidising all other areas of the country, which are significantly less productive, not least because of excessive state domination of the economy. Paul Swinney is Director of Policy and Research at the Centre for Cities think tank. Paul, thanks for joining us. What about some of those texts saying London and the South East more than pays its way?
Well, that's absolutely true. 30 pence in every pound of tax raised in the UK comes from London, which, as I think the text was saying, go to support services elsewhere in the country. And London and the South East are the only parts of the country where actually more tax is raised than public money spent. So on that basis, London plays, I think, an important role, not just for the jobs it generates and the opportunities it creates for people who live in London and people who move to London, but also, being able to support public services, not just in and around the capital, but actually elsewhere in the country too. And I think, in these debates about London v the rest, which become quite divisive, actually, I think it's important to remember these points.
So having said and understood that, where does it leave those parts of the country which don't get the same sort of investment as London and the South East?
Well, the key thing is to try and understand why is it that London is so successful, and why is London so attractive to many high-skilled, high-paying businesses, and why are these businesses then coming to invest in the capital and not go elsewhere? And once we've understood that question, then we can try and improve the economies of places elsewhere. This is not just sometimes the argument can seem to be getting into a position of levelling down, like, London is too successful, we must pull it back to make other places better. Actually, what we should be doing is trying to learn from the successes and the challenges that London faces and apply those to other places to make them perform better. Now, the key thing that London has got is access to lots and lots of skilled people. And if you're a high-skilled business looking to stick your pin somewhere on the map of the UK, you want to do it in the place where you know you can get the workers that you need. Like I say, London offers that. A lot of other places elsewhere in the country do not offer that to the same extent. So the focus on skills is really, really important. The other thing that London has got is a very successful city centre economy. Lots of high-paid businesses clustered within the centre of London, despite it being very expensive, and is supported by a very good local public transport network too. So what we need to be thinking more about is how do you make the centre of Sheffield more attractive to business, the centre of Manchester more attractive to centre of Leeds more attractive too. And by doing these steps, we start to change the nature of how attractive these places are in terms of pulling in these businesses, creating the types of jobs that we want to see, which ultimately means more money in people's pockets, but crucially also means that we have a better functioning and more successful national economy as well.
Skills, improving city centres. When you look at the initiatives that there have been in the past to help particularly areas in the north of England, for example, what has worked and what has fallen short? And I suppose I'm getting to the next question, which is this general election with promises abounding. What do you think would be the most attractive?
Excellent question. So I think we tend, in this area, we tend to look for policy gimmicks that sound great but don't potentially have a lot of impact. So we've seen this in the past with things like enterprise zones. We had 2 bites at those, putting them in places that need jobs. The latest thing that's in vogue is a thing called free ports, trying to create some free trade zones effectively in certain parts of the country that haven't got a lot of jobs. But a lot of these issues haven't really looked at or understand what the key challenges to certain places in terms of their ability to attract jobs in. And that again comes down to skills. Another thing we tend to get sucked into too is thinking about big investments. What we're going to do is spend loads of money on new rail lines, for example. And if London's getting Crossrail too, then we've got to have Crossrail to the north. But the key thing here is that, well, again, how will that solve the challenges that certain places face? How will that make these places more attractive to do business in them? And now, if the challenge is skills, once more, then putting more money into railway lines is not necessarily going to make much of a difference on that front. And so the focus really has to be about how do we try and improve the education systems in these places? How do we try and improve the levels of adult skills, or the people who are in the workforce improve their levels of skills? I think not only to help them get on in the world of work, but also make those places more attractive from a business investment perspective. And so we wait to see in the manifestos in terms of what will be set out in terms of the skills in particular. But of course, the big challenge is that skills policies aren't open. It's, things that are open is big construction projects that really catch the eye and capture the imagination. And I think that's the continual challenge that we face, and we need to try and address that if we are going to see certain parts of the country perform better in the future than what they have done in the past.
Paul, thank you. Paul Swinney, Director of Policy and Research at the Centre for Cities Think Tank. What do you think? 0345 6060 973. Aled is in Milford Haven in Pembrokeshire. What do you think, Aled?
Yeah, hi. Nice to talk to you.
And you?
Basically, I spent about 3 years in Southampton. I trained in the Merchant Navy. Southampton, very much like Milford Haven, has a large commercial port. Milford being one of the largest in Wales and one of the largest in the UK. Although, if it wasn't for those industries, I think this part of the country would be long forgotten and only operational, very much like Cornwall in the summer. But unfortunately, I think we do get left behind, often by Westminster, in quite a lot of the policies that we do have.
Why should that be, though, do you think, Alan? Because politicians want votes from everywhere. They want as many seats as possible. Maybe it would be quite straightforward, as Paul was suggesting, to start programmes for driving up skills around the UK, outside London and the South East.
Yeah, I mean, that would be certainly an interesting point. And like I say, thankfully, the colleges and education centres in West Wales are very much pushing you in the region of these kinds of jobs, certainly in the oil and gas industry. Like I say, I did 5 years in the Merchant Navy myself, and then actually came ashore to work for one of these oil companies in the west of Wales. And thankfully, the option was there for me with my pre-training prior to that. But I think unless these centres are funded, unless the idea of getting people into these positions are there, then we need to make sure it's there for the future. And unfortunately, I think with the day and age that we're getting in, and certainly more future wise, I think this sort of skill it's starting to go. It's for me personally that there aren't that many people who want to build oil storage tanks, who are welders, who are fabricators. You get quite a lot of the old hands who are good at it, but I think that there still needs to be more young people coming through to do those sort of roles.
What does your future hold, Alan?
Well, again, the oil industry, obviously, as many people are aware, it can be a very volatile industry. I hope, and I do sincerely hope that I've got my life career ahead of me. But I do worry, certainly worry, and obviously one of the oil companies in the west of Wales did mention, obviously, if we did leave with a no-deal Brexit, it would severely disrupt the business in the west of Wales. One of our biggest exporters is Dublin itself, so that would be a big sticking point for us. But like I say, hopefully the future's bright. There's a lot of work in terms of biofuels as well now. So hopefully, like I say, the future is bright for the oil and gas industry.
And for you, Alan, thanks very much for that. Best of luck. Rob in Harrogate, Rob says London has lots of poverty and surrounding towns. There are places up north that are very wealthy. Look at places like Harrogate. Jim in High Wycombe says, move the capital to Manchester. Westminster's falling down and needs rebuilding. It's an ideal time to do it. Cheaper than London. Moving the capital would have a huge psychological effect in the north. It would simply put the capital at the centre of the country. Precisely, Jim, where he says it should be. 1345 6060 973. Now let's get the latest news. Here's Holly Jones.
A mother from Sheffield and her half-brother have each been given life sentences with a minimum of 35 years for murdering two of their sons. The Labour Party says it's experienced a sophisticated and large-scale cyber attack on its digital platforms. A recommendation that HS2 should continue to be built in full despite soaring costs has been welcomed by political leaders in the north. LBC weather: showers clearing across most of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Very chilly with a widespread frost, particularly further north and for Scotland, a low of 2 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 clockwise, the exit Slip Road at junction 23 for the A1M stays closed. It's for emergency repairs, so they're accused from junction 22 for St Albans now. They're accused on the South Circular Road. A lane stays closed in both directions between the Tulse Hill Gyratory and Avenue Park Road for recovery work after a lorry hit a bridge this morning. In Upper Edmonton, they're accused on the North Circular westbound. A lane's blocked because a van's broken down at the 4th Street Tunnel. It's slow on the A40, the Western Avenue into town because a car's broken down between the Denham roundabouts and the Swakeleys roundabouts. And on the train, southeastern have delays of up to 20 minutes and some cancellations between Hither Green and Chislehurst. That's after a car hit a bridge earlier.
LBC.
Wiper blades in winter. Smears rattle your confidence. Can't see, can't drive. Can't believe you haven't been to Halfords yet. We fit new wiper blades on the spot from just £3, and we're open late 7 days a week. Ready for winter's worst? Ready for anything. Halfords, for life's journeys.
Wiper blades sold separately. Selected vehicles only. In most stores. Check for opening hours.
Call Eddie Mayer 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
A credit limit of up to £1,500. What do you have to do to get it? Simple. Get online and check if you're eligible for an Ocean credit card in minutes without affecting your credit score. For your Ocean credit card, visit ocean.co.uk now and get all that from Ocean. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One, the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable. Borrow and spend responsibly.
In the trade, sign up to Wix Trade Pro and get 10% off every time you shop with no minimum spend. Download the app to register. Always cheaper with Wix Trade Pro. Terms apply.
You want to keep your savings for the things you love this Christmas, not a new boiler. We're with you. So our boilers come with 2 years interest-free credit, so you can keep your savings for a Merry Christmas. Plus, get a 5-year British Gas warranty, and we can quote by video call, after work or weekends. Get a quote by the 30th of November and get £150 off a new boiler, or £450 off for existing home care customers. Search British Gas New Boiler. Conditions apply.
He goes past 1. He goes past 2. He beats another. And he
Unlimit the sport you love this Christmas on Vodafone. With Sky Sports Mobile TV included on our unlimited data plans with entertainment. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Available on Unlimited and Unlimited Max plan. Maximum download speed applies to Unlimited plan. Speed and coverage may vary. Full terms on Unlimited and Entertainment at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
Welcome inside Rachel's mind.
detergent for 2 years running. Purple Bricks. You'll be totally sold.
Independent sales data from 20CI, May 17, April 19. Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months viewing services cost extra.
Thank you for your business loan application, Mr.
Myers.
Ah, yes, Myers, of course. I'll have to pass this on to the Director of Hesitation.
The what?
Who will then send it to the Red Tape Committee, where the President of Procrastination will then have...
Luckily, business loans from iWalker come without the tribulation. No wait, no faff, and a decision when you need it. See how we can help your business at iWalker. That's iwoca.co.uk. iWalker, hassle-free loans for small businesses.
Eddie Mair, tweet at LBC.
Afternoon, Eddie. It's simple why London and the South East get the lion's share. It's because we have a dominant services industry which benefits London primarily and to a lesser degree the other major cities. Former industrial areas will always be poorer as a result. Rebalancing the economy in favour of manufacturing would truly start to change that, says Rupert in Southampton. Davy says, of course London and the South East get more than their share. How many billions were spent in London for Heathrow, the Olympic Games, Crossrail, HS2? All HS2 is doing is turning the Midlands into a commuter belt for London, stealing jobs from the Midlands. If they'd been serious about a northern powerhouse from HS2, it should have been built in the north first. It seems whatever London wants, it gets. LBC's Liam Gotting has been asking people on Merseyside if they feel shortchanged by Westminster.
I don't think it's any party in Westminster cares about the North. They all look after themselves, and I actually think they're all in it for themselves, not for the people.
It's quite obvious, really, with the recent floods. There's nothing being done, so he's decided to hold a Cobra meeting due to kind of pressure from us. Yeah, I agree with that.
One of the main points he raised was that if the floodings had taken place in Surrey, they would have been dealt with immediately, or a national emergency would have been called, whereas because they've happened up north, that wasn't the case. Is that a sentiment that you agree with?
Oh, yeah. It's, I think it's just one of the things that the north-south divide is getting bigger instead of smaller.
Nobody in Westminster really gives a hoot about what's happening in the north.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we're that far away from them, you know, at the end of the day.
What issues do you think are neglected in the north that maybe get dealt with in the south a bit more?
There's more jobs in the south, you know, you have to look at that. More social housing, a lot more immigration in the north than there is in the south, I feel.
It's a lot poorer up here. There's far more people who are on the breadline, using food banks, a whole variety of things, being done by the benefit system, having to wait 5-6 weeks when they shouldn't. Tories said they'd change that, reduce the amount of time, hasn't altered at all.
Liam Gotting for LBC on Merseyside. Clive is in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, of all places. Clive, are you in the north?
No, I'm near the border. I'm actually from Newcastle originally. I've been here 12 years.
I'm detecting your accent. And to you, now, what do you think of what we've been hearing about London and the South East sucking the life out of the rest of the country?
Well, I think it deserves to as well. It is the capital. I never thought there was a north-south divide as such. I always thought we had a better life up in the north, especially where I was from, Northumberland. A beautiful place. A lot of investment, a lot of industry, how there used to be. I was there. I was back about 5 years ago, and I did see a change, and unfortunately for the worse. I felt that it was overcrowded, but maybe I just got used to sort of Vancouver and being in British Columbia. I'm not too sure if that was, you know.
Why did you leave, Clive?
Well, I left 2008. I'm in construction. I have a construction company over here, and I just felt the work was slowing down, and I got out before the crash. And you know what? It's probably one of the best decisions I ever made. And it never slowed down over here. I couldn't believe how much, and it still is. It's non-stop. It goes non-stop, you know. And there is a lot of industry here. Yeah, really you know. But I still, it wasn't a decision I took lightly to come away from Newcastle, because I still love Newcastle. I love the northeast of England. I love the people. I miss my family. I miss my friends, and I miss going the silly things like going to the pub and stuff like that, you know.
And Canada, you'll be more expert than me, but it's got a much more federal system, hasn't it? I mean, one of the complaints about London and the South East, but particularly London, is that it dominates politics, it dominates the media, and that everyone else can struggle to get their voices heard. It's a bit different.
Well, not really, Eddie, because we have the same trouble with East Coast, where you've got where Justin Trudeau's from, and they seem to have a lot of power, where the rest of the other provinces are struggling to be heard, it's the same problems everywhere. So even North America are having the same issues as Europe. And what I always felt was, I always hear this thing about the National Health Service, and I don't think people realise how lucky they are to have a National Health Service, because we pay for our health service.
Clive, thanks very much for calling in all the way from Vancouver, British Columbia. Lewis is next in Cheltenham. Hi, Lewis. What's your take on all this?
Hi, Eddie. So I live in Cheltenham now, but I actually grew up in Gravesend in Kent, which is about 20-25 miles from London. I've been interested in listening to this actually, because it's something I feel quite strongly about. I think there's definitely a disparity between the north and the south of England, certainly in terms of investment. I think that's because the economy now seems to thrive around the city of London. But, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised to say there are issues in terms of things like wealth distribution, for example, and poverty and deprivation in the southeast and the southwest where I live now. I did feel like the north, for example, it was deindustrialised in the 80s and the 90s. East Grace was a similar thing, perhaps not to the same extent, but I know like one of the key employees in the area at the time when I was there was Blue Circle Cement Works, which although it was quite dirty work, it paid people decent wages and enough to raise a family and buy a house. Living there now, that option's not available. If they can't get a job in the city of London, it's low pay, 0-hour contract work in Bluewater Park, which is ironically in one of the old cement quarries. And I find a similar sort of experience actually in the southwest where I live, or Cheltenham, which is the southwest where I live now. I'm now a trade union official, so I get to kind of meet people from all over the southwest and hear about their experiences, which is quite interesting. And what you hear is sort of people complain about in the north. You also hear people sort of complain about in areas like Cornwall, for example, where again house prices are really high and people can't afford them because there's just no employment opportunities and there's no investment in the area. So that's kind of my take on it, really.
I appreciate it, Lewis. Thanks very much. I've got some more texts and tweets to get to before 5 o'clock, and then, of course, after 5, much more to come, including the latest on the election, as we do every night, just after 5 o'clock. Now, at 3 minutes to the hour, a man has appeared at the Old Bailey charged with a total of 37 counts, including kidnap, rape and false imprisonment. LBC's Lucy Hoff reports.
Yes, Eddie, there's been some harrowing evidence heard in court today on the second day of Joseph McCann's trial at the Old Bailey. The 34-year-old was arrested after a huge manhunt earlier this year. He'd been linked to a string of rapes around London and Manchester, and he's now accused of 37 charges involving 11 victims, one of them aged just 11, a child, the eldest aged 71. The court was told today that the attacks happened over 2 weeks in April and May. The prosecution said that one of those alleged victims, a 25-year-old woman, was abducted as she was walking home in East London. The jury was told that McCann told her to stop screaming or he'd stab her, holding her hostage in the back of a car, where she was then raped many times over a 14-hour period. She was subjected, the prosecution said, to acts of shocking depravity and violence. We were then told that just after midday on the same day, McCann allegedly abducted a 21-year-old woman who was bundled into that car whilst he was still holding that first victim prisoner. They were then held hostage together, raped repeatedly before they managed to escape in Watford. But the prosecution said that these alleged attacks didn't stop there. McCann reportedly continued his spree of attacks in the northwest 10 days later, over a 12-hour period, attacking 3 women, 3 young girls and a boy of 11. He's then alleged to have abducted a 71-year-old in her own car in a Morrison's car park. The prosecution went on to say that McCann then continued his spree in the northwest 10 days later. So really shocking evidence at the Old Bailey today. McCann wasn't in the dock today, but he has pleaded not guilty to all 37 of those charges. The case continues tomorrow and is due to last 6 weeks.
Lucy Hoff reporting. 2 final words on our talking point this hour. Ray says, I live in Thanet in southeast England, one of the most deprived areas in the UK. I'm 51 and clean houses for £7.50 because I cannot find a job. I really feel there are areas the government couldn't care less about wherever they are in the UK. And on Twitter, 88 billion on HS2. I live in one of the biggest towns in the UK, Northampton. We can't even get a ring road. Biggest waste of money in my lifetime. After 6 tonight, the LBC election call with Sir Ed Davey of the Liberal Democrats. And just before 6, 2 former MPs cast their weathered and maybe weary eye over the election, Ed Vaizey and Gloria De Piero. Right now, the Steve Allen soundbite of the night.
It's grown from 8 inches to 18 feet. It takes 3 of them to lift it, and even then, I mean, this thing could swallow you whole. And the other bits.
It's 5 o'clock. This is LBC. I'm Eddie Mayer. Here are the headlines. The floods cause misery 5 days on.
5 severe flood warnings are still in place on the River Don in Doncaster, which means there is still a risk to life.
Labour accuses the government of not doing enough.
Boris Johnson waited 5 days before calling a Cobra meeting, and only after I wrote to him demanding it in the first place.
Hillary Clinton says Boris Johnson should publish his secret Russia report.
Every person who votes in this country deserves to see that report before your election happens.
The 16-year-old who says vaping nearly killed him.
All the machines started going off, and from then they rushed me into the side room on cannulas and oxygen, and it just went downhill from there, and then I ended up on 2 or 3 life support machines.
After 6 tonight on LBC, your election call to the Deputy Leader of the Lib Dems, Sir Ed Davey.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation, this is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 5 o'clock, the parents of 6 children who murdered 2 of their sons have been jailed for at least 35 years each. 35-year-old Sarah Barras and Brandon Machin, who's also her half-brother, admitted killing Tristan and Blake Barras in Sheffield in May. Family friend Matthew Saunders says justice has been done.
A piece of all our hearts died on the 24th of May 2019, which we will never get back. Blake and Tristan leave a huge empty void in our lives, and we did not get the chance to say goodbye.
The Prime Minister's been holding an emergency Cobra meeting on the severe flooding to hit South Yorkshire and Midlands. The government says it's already been providing support after opposition parties criticised the response. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has suggested Boris Johnson would have been quicker to respond if the floods had been in the southeast. Speaking on a visit to Stainforth near Doncaster, Liberal Democrat leader Joe Swinson has told LBC a national emergency needs to be declared.
I hope that they will get that national help in because it shouldn't just be up to volunteers to band together. Amazing that is to see. That national support needs to be there.
Labour says it's confident no data breach has occurred after a cyber attack on its digital platforms. The party has described it as sophisticated and large scale and says it slowed down some campaign activities yesterday. A security guard at a Primark store in southwest London has been convicted of sexually assaulting 4 teenage girls who had been caught shoplifting. 27-year-old Zia Uden threatened to tell the 15-year-old girls' parents and police unless they did as he said at the Kingston branch. Political leaders in the north of England have welcomed a recommendation that HS2 should continue to be built in full despite soaring costs. The high-speed rail line was allocated £56 billion in 2015. A leaked report has now suggested it'll cost more than £88 billion. England manager Gareth Southgate is defending his decision to drop Raheem Sterling from this week's Euro 2020 qualifier. It follows an altercation with Liverpool's Joe Gomez. Southgate insists the decision was taken following consultation with the rest of his squad.
I think it's important to always be as fair as possible on any decision making that I make, whether that's a senior player or a junior player. Quite a number of our senior players have been active in discussions over the last, well, certainly during yesterday.
The Financial Times has appointed a female editor for the first time in its 131-year history. Current Deputy Rula Califf will replace Lionel Barber, who's stepping down next year. The LBC Markets report the FTSE 100 has closed up 52 points at 73.65. The pound buys $1.28 and €1.16. LBC weather: showers clearing across most of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Very chilly with a widespread frost, particularly further north and for Scotland, a low of 2 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Holly Jones.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Eddie Mair.
5:05. Tonight's election headlines have a bit of an echo of last night, with Nigel Farage's plans for the election still in the sights of some of the other parties. The Conservatives have totted up what they say Labour would cost everybody. Labour's also come under attack from a new enemy, the internet, and the party's promising billions for adult education. Last night, Nigel Farage withdrew hundreds of Brexit Party candidates from seats where the Conservatives won last time. Now he's resisting calls to stand aside from some seats won by Labour.
I've just gifted the Conservative Party nearly 24 seats, and I did it because I believe in Leave. Now, if they believed in Leave, what they would do is stand aside in some seats in Labour areas where the Conservative Party have not won for 100 years and will never win. And I think what you're seeing in this reaction is, for the Conservative Party, it's about them as a party, not about delivering Brexit.
Nigel Farage on the BBC. Last night on LBC's election call, we talked about how the government won't say whether it's carried out an impact assessment on the UK's future relationship with the EU. But the Conservatives have published what they say will be the cost of a Labour government. Labour's fully costed plans will be in its manifesto. But the Conservatives have done some sums, and they say personal taxes under Labour would go up by £2,400 a head. Here's the Chancellor, he's the actual Chancellor, Sajid Javid, speaking in Bristol.
Jeremy Corbyn, if he ever wins office, he will not only try to run the country with extra borrowing and debt, but he will also start with hiking your taxes to astronomical levels. And think about it, £2,400 is what he's planning per person per year. That's equivalent to someone working an average income, a month's income. It's like working an extra 30 days just wins extra tax.
Labour said it was hit by a sophisticated and large-scale cyber attack on its digital platforms. It said the attack failed, and it's thought no data breach occurred.
It was a very serious attack.
Ciężko się z tym wyjeżdża.
As far as we're aware, none of our information was downloaded.
Wyjechaliście stąd już?
Was actually repulsed because we have an effective in-house developed system by people within our party. But if this is a sign of things to come in this election, I feel very nervous about it all, because a cyber attack against a political party in an election is suspicious and something one is very worried about.
Threat intelligence. He spoke to Sheila Fogarty here on LBC.
Чувак уже запустил, блять, в Англии.
Unpick these events, but this one hasn't necessarily been about data breach. It hasn't involved phishing or malicious email attacks. It actually involves again an unsophisticated attacker actually paying someone else for their services. So what those services mean is that there could be hundreds of thousands of infected PCs across the internet, and we've seen some of the sources. There's Brazil and sort of Russia, and that's not to put blame on where who's at fault here and who's actually done it. But it essentially just means that someone's hired a network of hundreds of thousands of PCs and decided that they don't like the Labour Party's agenda, so they're going to try and, take them out.
Labour's been talking about its £3 billion plan to offer adults in England free access to retraining to help their job chances and tackle skill shortages. Here's the Shadow Education Secretary, Angela Rayner.
Our country faces huge and growing skills shortage, and the Tories, the so-called party of business, are making it worse. They're making it worse by locking thousands of people out of the opportunity to retrain and upskill. In the years ahead, businesses will need to hire 1.5 million more highly qualified staff. Under the Tories, they won't be able to do so. All those roles are locked out of the opportunities they need. If they want to get the skills that they need to take out a loan to cover their tuition. The Tories' decision to impose loans is causing the number of learners to plummet each and every year.
Labour and the Lib Dems have criticised Boris Johnson's response to the floods. Jeremy Corbyn accused him of only calling a Cobra meeting 5 days after the floods, and only because Jeremy Corbyn had asked for one. For the Lib Dems, Joe Swinson set out a plan for a £5 billion fund to improve flood defences across the UK.
There's an immediate requirement for an emergency response, and we've said there should be a national emergency declared. We should stay in the European Union, which also gives us access to that additional funding for emergency situations like this. In the past, £190 million has come in to help in flood emergency situations. We also need to make sure that the likelihood of communities being affected by flooding is reduced, and that's why we have set out a £5 billion flood and adaptation fund that would help to increase the flood defences and make sure that communities are more resilient to these extreme weather events which are becoming more common.
And sad news, if you've cancelled all engagements until Sajid Javid and the Shadow Chancellor appeared on TV debating each other about the economy, it's unlikely to happen. The Channel 4 election debate has been scrapped amid claims from Labour and the SNP that Sajid Javid is running scared. Those two parties suggested that he was refusing to take part in the debate proposed to take place this weekend, which John McDonnell and Ian Blackford had agreed to. Channel 4 said the plans for the debate are on hold because it was not possible to reach an agreement with all the parties. Our political editor, Theo Usherwood, is here. What do you want to talk about?
Should we start with that claim from Sajid Javid, the Chancellor, that Labour would force up taxes by £2,400 a head each year? And just to give a bit of context to this figure, because it comes from the £1.2 trillion the Tories say Labour will cost the country over the next 5 years. An extrapolation of those figures, and it creates, under the Tory estimates, a £374 billion black hole in the public finances, which would need to be filled by additional taxes from the Labour Party. But, and there is a but again, Eddie, it's a big but. Of course, those figures, that £1.2 trillion, was based on the fact that from day one of the Labour government, they would implement every policy in the 2017 manifesto and every single policy announced since the 2017 general election, which of course is not going to happen. We're yet to wait, we're yet to see what will be in the Labour manifesto, but from what I understand, it's actually going to be less radical, especially around areas of renationalisation, than the previous 2017 manifesto. But the point is that the Tories want us to be talking about Labour and spending. They want us to be talking about the fact it's £1.2 trillion. They want us to be debating it. They want people to be questioning it. It's exactly the same tactic that was used, of course, in the 2016 EU referendum when Dominic Cummings and Boris Johnson and Michael Gove said that we sent £350 billion a week to £350 million a week, I should say, to the European Union, which could be better spent on the NHS. And of course, that figure was a gross figure. It wasn't a net figure, which was £166 million a week that could be better spent on the NHS, which of course comes after a rebate. So the point is, from the Labour perspective, is that they're fighting this accusation, which they know to be false, but by the mere fact that they're fighting the accusation, people are talking about it, and the concern from the Labour point of view is that creates distrust in their own arithmetic when it comes to the public finances.
Every Monday on this programme, Peter Kellner is here with Poll Watch, and he was doing business for us yesterday. He had a lot of polls to look at. We should always caution about any individual poll, but there is one out that's sort of interesting.
There is one out from Survation, which puts the Conservatives on 35 points, up one. Labour up 29 points. The Liberal Democrats down 2 on 17, and the Brexit Party down 2 on 10 points. So that now puts, according to Survation, the gap between Labour and the Conservatives at 6 points. Just to remind listeners, we've ended up in our hung parliament situation because in the 2017 election there was a gap of 2 points. Labour had 40% of the vote, the Conservatives had 42% of the vote in the 2017 election. But again, these numbers are, it's a survey, and of course from the Labour perspective, it adds to the narrative that Jeremy Corbyn can do better in this election than many had previously on the Labour side feared that he would do, and that they are closing the gap on the Conservatives. And wouldn't it be an embarrassment if Boris Johnson, who wanted this general election so badly, went to the electorate, and we ended up in exactly the same position that we were before the general election. Brexit doesn't get done.
And that does bear out, that latest poll does bear out the trend that Peter Kellner identified yesterday of the Conservatives and Labour benefiting while smaller parties being squeezed.
We always knew that was going to happen. I'll just remind you, Eddie, of what Professor John Curtis, who of course is the authority, who said at the start of the election, if you looked at the numbers at the beginning when that election was called, it was looking very good. It was looking good for the Liberal Democrats, the Brexit Party, and of course the SNP. And we could very well end up in a situation where the smaller parties return more than 100 seats. But as things move on, the Liberal Democrats are facing pressure, Brexit Party facing pressure, as voters start to realise that there is a choice about who will be Prime Minister between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn, and we could end up in a situation back that we received, that we ended up in 2017, where more than 80% of the electorate vote for one of the main two parties.
Theo, thank you. Theo Usherwood, LBC's political editor, as well as Peter Kellner on a Monday. Every Friday we have Full Fact with us, a fact-checking the election for you. And if at any point in the campaign you hear a claim on the radio or TV or in the papers or in an election leaflet and you think, I'm not sure that's right, send it to us. Here's the email address, factchecking@lbc.co.uk, and every Friday we'll try to get to the facts for you. That's factchecking, all one word, at lbc.co.uk. Still ahead, Ed Vaizey and Gloria De Piero, MPs not fighting this election, casting their eye over what's going on. And after 6, election call with Sir Ed Davey. Now the news, here's Holly Jones.
A mother and father who murdered their 2 teenage sons at their home in Sheffield have both been jailed for at least 35 years. As an emergency Cobra meeting's held on the response to the latest flooding, the government's being accused of failing to take it seriously by opposition parties. A security guard at a Primark store in southwest London has been convicted of sexually assaulting 4 teenage girls who had been caught shoplifting. LBC weather, showers clearing for most, very chilly with a widespread frost, particularly further north, and for Scotland, a low of 2 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave. Go off on the M25 clockwise. The exit slip road at junction 23 for the A1M stays closed while a large pothole is repaired, so they're recused from junction 21A for St Albans. Anti-clockwise on the M25 is slow because of a breakdown at junction 10 for the A3 on the exit slip road. They're recused on the South Circular Road westbound. A lane stays closed for recovery work after a lorry hit a bridge this morning between the Tulse Hill Gyratory and Avenue Park Road. It is very slow in Leighton on Lee Bridge Road in both directions after an accident earlier between Salcombe Road and Avondale Road. And it's slow in Newell on the A240 Kingston Road. It's partly blocked in both directions because of an accident at Ruxley Lane.
This is LBC.
I don't want bread.
It's not bread, it's raw toast. Sandra has just laughed at Mike's joke. She hasn't laughed at any of his jokes since the Eskimo in Bar of 2007. But this morning, Sandra got a free Amazon Echo Show 5 after buying 4 Michelin tyres at QuickFit. So, get them in quick, Mike. Book at quickfit.com or visit your local QuickFit today and drive away happy. For terms and conditions, visit quickfit.com.
This is LBC.
You can trust some things to start your day off just right. The patter of rain falling outside. Lovely. The same rain falling inside through a leaking roof. Not so lovely. But you can make the rain go away. Thanks to TrustedTrader.com. Simply pop online to find plenty of vetted, renewed, reliable professionals in an abundance of trades. Like a roofer who's a ray of sunshine. Make their Christmas wishes come true. Whether they want to jet off on Barbie's dream plane, run with the storm in Fortnite, or glide along on My Lovely Llama. At littlewoods.com, you'll find all the toys they love, all with inclusive delivery and free returns. Own Christmas. Shop now at littlewoods.com.
Antibiotics, we're wonderful pills, but don't ever think we'll cure all of your ills. So every time you feel a bit under the weather, don't always think that we can make you better. Take us for the wrong thing, that's dangerous to do. When you really need us, we could stop working for you. So please don't end up paying the price. Always take your doctor's advice.
Taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk. Take your doctor or nurse's advice and keep antibiotics working.
Hi, I'm back. I just set personal best on my park run. Feels great.
That's lovely, Mike. I think
With Vitality Life Insurance, you get properly rewarded when you're active. In fact, you could save over £730 every year in discounts and rewards from our partners. Join over 1 million customers. Just search Vitality Life. Vitality. Positively different. Annual savings available with certain plans and are dependent on members' usage of rewards available. Terms and conditions apply.
What matters most to you? Saving money or helping the environment? With Evergreen Power, you can do both. Insulating your home with soft spray foam insulation will keep the heat in your home this winter like never before with its air barrier seal. Reducing airborne noise, condensation, damp and mould, your loft will be transformed into a dry, usable space while cutting your heating bills and carbon footprint, so helping the planet. For a free survey, search Evergreen Power.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are or what time of day, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere. Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem. And it's so simple, you can install it yourself in minutes. See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. Available at ring.com and selected retailers.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC with Eddie Mair.
That email address, if you hear or see a questionable fact put forward in this general election campaign, fact-checking@lbc.co.uk, and every Friday Full Fact will be here doing the business trying to get the facts for you. And don't forget, after 6 tonight, it's your LBC election call to Sir Ed Davey, the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats. You ask the questions, you demand the answers. I'll do my best to shut up, and you can question Sir Ed Davey. If you have a question for him about the Liberal Democrats, about their policies, about their past, about electoral pacts, 0345 6060 973. Book your place on LBC's election call on air from 6 tonight with Sir Ed Davey. The Sunday Times reported that 9 Russian business people who gave money to the Conservative Party are named in a secret intelligence report on the threats posed to UK democracy, which was suppressed last week by Downing Street. We are not allowed to see the report by the Cross-Party Intelligence and Security Select Committee because, we're told, it hasn't gone through the correct procedures. Last night on LBC's election call, I talked to the Conservative John Whittingdale about that. The Sunday Times yesterday reported that 9 Russian business people who gave money to the Conservative Party are named in this secret intelligence report on the threats posed to our democracy by the Russians. This report is being sat on by Downing Street. Would you encourage Downing Street, in the interests of democracy, to let us see it before the election?
Well, look, I haven't seen the report.
No, none of us has. That's my question.
Well, the people on the Intelligence and Security Committee obviously have, but the way that committee, the way that committee works is that their reports are treated differently. I chaired a select committee for a long time, but it was not the same as the Intelligence and Security Committee. And obviously, when you're dealing with classified material, you do need to look very carefully before publishing it to make sure that you're not jeopardising national security. And it's always been the case that ISC reports are given much greater scrutiny. Government doesn't have any approval over other select committee reports. It does over the ISC.
Does it concern you that 9 Russian business people who give money to the Conservative Party are named in this report?
Well, I don't know whether they are or not. Because I haven't seen the report. Well, I haven't seen the report.
Does that concern you?
Not necessarily. I mean, I know 1 or 2 people of Russian origin. I know one in particular who has supported the Conservative Party. He is one of the fiercest critics of Putin that I know. So I think just because somebody is giving money and has Russian origin, it doesn't mean that he's acting for the Russian state.
We reported last night that the former US presidential candidate Hillary Clinton had raised concerns about this in a conversation with The Guardian. She's also been speaking to the BBC.
I'm dumbfounded that this government won't release the report about Russian influence, because every person who votes in this country deserves to see that report before your election happens.
Why do you think they're not releasing it?
I don't know the answer to that. I would think a reporter like you and others should be absolutely relentless in trying to get to the bottom of it. Because, look, we know from even this current Trump administration's intelligence officials that the Russians are still in our electoral system. There's no doubt of the role that Russia played in our 2016 election and is continuing to play. There's a lot of evidence that Russia played in the Brexit election. Now, I'm not, in your country. I don't have a say about any of of that. But the fact that the current government won't release this report by your own government should raise some questions.
Listening to all that, Misha Glenny, crime and security expert, author of McMafia. Misha, what John Whittingdale told us is pretty much what we've heard from the government, that there are procedures. This is a particularly complex business, this cross-party intelligence and security committee report, and we're going to have to wait.
Yes, of course, the report was finished in March of this year. It's already weeks and weeks ago been signed off by both MI6 and MI5. And the government has had plenty of time to look through it. I mean, you really have to be stretching credibility if you don't think that the government is clearly blocking its release because it's going to be an embarrassment one way or another before the general election on December the 12th. I don't think really anyone thinks that there's any other reason for not releasing this report.
What do you think is in it?
Well, there are several things which it could address, and I've been talking to people inside the intelligence community today to try and ascertain exactly what it is. Some of it we can guess fairly easy because of some of the witnesses who we know were called. But the fundamental issues are the question of whether there has been, as alleged, dirty Russian money going into Tory coffers, in particular to the Prime Minister and his inner circle. Then there is the issue of Dominic Cummings and what's referred to as his 2 missing years after Oxford, when he was known to be doing business in Russia. I'm also told that it's possible that the name Dmitry Firtash, who is a notorious oligarch/criminal, may be in the dossier, and if it is, whoever that name is associated with will be deeply embarrassed. However, I think that it's less likely, according to my sources, that there is anything specific about the Brexit referendum and any Russian influence in it. So there's a variety of issues which could embarrass the government and the Prime Minister, and I think it's probably for that reason why we're not seeing this report.
Is there any chance, do you think, we will see it before polling day?
Я забыл, это все
compromise or embarrass the government, then it could seriously jeopardize their electoral chances, and so they're using the power which I assume they have to block its release. So no, I don't think we will see it.
Thank you. Misha Glenny, crime and security expert, author of McMafia. The other week on the programme, we had a very interesting conversation about vaping. Some people swear by it to got them off smoking cigarettes. Others, not so sure. Health experts in the United States have been raising the alarm recently, and now we have the account here of a 16-year-old who says he reacted badly, very badly to vaping, and almost died. These are BBC reporter Matthew Thompson.
Teenager Ian Fisher was left on life support after suffering a severe linked to vaping. And speaking out today, Ian described
I started to cough and choke. My chest was getting tight and I was having to gasp for air by coughing. And one night, the day before I went into hospital, which was also the day before my first GCSE exam, my mum took me to A&E because I was choking and it was getting out of hand really. And they took me in the room and put me on a SATS machine, and all the machines started going off, and from then they rushed me into the side with cannulas and oxygen, and it just went downhill from there. I ended up on 2 or 3 life support machines.
It turns out he'd had a type of allergic reaction to something in the vape that has caused his lungs to become inflamed. But it's prompted quite a lot of concern today, as his doctors have authored a paper in a journal called The Archives of Disease in Childhood, which warns about the dangers of vaping. And that's in spite of guidance from Public Health England, which says that vaping is about 95% less harmful for you than smoking. Now, Professor Andrew Bush is one of the co-authors of this paper and treated Ewan, and he said that Public Health England guidance should be changed.
I'm afraid the NHS is out of step with just about every other body in the world. The International Federation of Respiratory Societies, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the European Respiratory Society are all saying we are fearful of the consequences of
themselves say there are disagreements about whether vaping is safe. There are those like Professor Bush who are some who are wary, and also point to some data that suggests e-cigarettes might actually attract people, particularly young people, to smoking in the first place. But then there are those who say that they still remain much better for you than cigarettes. I mentioned public health England, but even the likes of Cancer Research and claim to give a cautious endorsement. And it's pointed out that allergic reactions like these are rare, whilst smoking kills about half of long-term users. John Dunn is the director of the UK Vaping Industry Association.
Everybody is looking at this from a cautious standpoint because obviously we're dealing with people's lives here. But, you know, what we really want to do is make